caregivers are manipulating and directing this case however they want it to go, and it has dragged this case on a lot longer than it should have.
We're back. I'm attorney Vince Davis. This is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. And I'm with my co-host, Aaron Carranza. Aaron, are we ready to take another call?
We are. We have Corey from California. Corey, do you have a question to ask or a story to tell?
I guess a little bit of both. First of all, I just want to say hi. Thanks for taking my call. Currently, my wife and I are in a DCFS case that has been going on. It'll be 2 years coming up on June 26th.
You called us last week, right?
No, I did not.
Or 2 weeks ago?
First time calling in. Nope, this is my first time calling. It's okay. So
I have notes. I take notes of every caller, so.
Gotcha. No worries. So my wife and I, we have 3 kids. My wife and I, we share one biological daughter together. The other 2 are my stepkids, and the other 2 actually have 2 different dads as well. So there's a big dynamic going on. Long story short, the DCFS has been hanging on the words of the caregivers of the children. Now, my mom is the caregiver for my daughter and my stepdaughter, and the caregivers for my stepson is his dad's parents. So the caregivers are manipulating and directing this case however they want it to go, and it has dragged this case on a lot longer than it should have, and to the point where my wife and I, DCFS is now forcing us to has been for quite some time, separating our visits and are pushing for us to get a divorce. And on top of that, we have had numerous progress reports from our individual therapists, our children's therapists, and our conjoint therapists that there has been progress made. This case was against my wife, and they found physical abuse and neglect towards the children. And then what the children were placed into my care, or my daughter and stepdaughter were placed into my care, stepson went to his dad's side of the family. And then since DCFS wasn't getting their act together to get a visitation schedule going, I took it upon myself to bring my daughters around my wife, and my family was spying on me and took that evidence and then got the kids taken away from me. So,
for failure to protect? Is that why they took them from you?
Yes, for failure to protect, yes. So me being a first-time parent, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what to expect. This is my first time going through something like this. My wife had a prior DCFS case before I was involved with her, but that case was dismissed. There was no evidence found to hold that, but that case, I guess, did last for 11 months with her son, my stepson. And now, with DCFS involved, we have gone through about 6 DCFS caseworkers. Our previous caseworker was absolutely amazing. She actually could see through all of the manipulation and the lies and the deceit of the caregivers to continually keep the children from returning back to us. And she would call them out on it. And now we have a new caseworker, since the caregivers used harassment against our previous caseworker to remove her from the case. Now our new caseworker happens to be a DCFS caseworker trainee, and she has done absolutely nothing for us to try and move this forward, up until the point where this has stressed out my wife and I so much. We actually had a domestic violence incident a little bit over a month ago, and the charges were dropped because it was against me, even though she was the one who was the unofficial offender. I was the one who started the argument and instigated the situation. So that whole thing got dismissed, and the children weren't around when that happened. And now now the court, the judge has placed a mutual stay-away order between my wife and I, and they are continuing to force us to pretty much separate. Now, again, this was the first time in our entire relationship of 6 years that we have ever had any kind of domestic violence incident. We have never argued in front of the children. We always had it behind closed doors. And, again, we didn't need to see the children. We didn't want the children to see that, our arguments. It's just not something they need to see.
Right.
So now we're in this predicament of they're calling it an 18-month hearing, even though it's technically 24 months, 18-month hearing coming up on June 24th. And we actually have Vincent Davis's office that is working for my wife. We just actually we just went to him a couple weeks ago for her to defend her, and we don't know. We've done everything that we can and what we've been told to do. We have spoken with our DCFS, with our supervisor. Spoke with the supervisor. She was absolutely useless and refused to move anything forward. We then took it a step up and we went to the ARA, and we spoke with the ARA, and all they did was come down on the supervisor, and then the supervisor would then reach out to our caseworker and say, hey, this is what you need to do, but still nothing would happen. We even went a step above the ARA at that point and went to county supervisor, and the county supervisor still did nothing. So we're kind of at our wit's end, and we don't really know what direction to go at this point. And again, this whole mutual stay-away order and forcing us to pretty much not, to get a divorce, and that, there's this whole codependency issue that they keep falling on top of the caregivers constantly manipulating the situation and speaking for our children. And our children are 3 years old, 6 years old, and 8 years old. We don't know how to alter the course of this case. And we just could really use some insight on this whole situation.
Okay, well, did you say that your wife is represented by my office?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what I want you to do. I want you to write down this phone number, and I want you to have her call me tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. Now I'm going to give you two numbers, okay? One is the office number, 888-888-6582. Now, that's the office number. I think somebody's on staff answering phones like after 9 or 10 o'clock on a Sunday, right? It's weekend, it's Sunday. So she can leave a message. She can also text me. But tell her when she texts me to also include her name so I can try to pull her up on our system.
Okay.
And the number she can text is 310-308-7758.
2 minutes.
310-308-7758.
Okay.
How does that sound?
That would be amazing, because we still have not heard from the attorney that's currently representing her, and it's been a couple weeks, unfortunately, so we're starting to run out of time. But yes, I will definitely relay that to my wife, but that's pretty much where I'm at. So I was just asking if there were any other avenues that we could take besides the ARA, county supervisor. Again, we changed my wife's public defender to your office in hopes that we can try and break through and finally get our children back. And it's been 2 years.
Okay.
And that's the sad thing, is that it's been manipulated for so long, and these children are being manipulated and guided to think a certain way at this point of anything and everything negative of what's happened in the past. And it's it's not moving, and we're in fear that we're not going to get our children returned back to us.
When is the next court hearing?
June 24th.
Okay. So we have time. Make sure she calls or texts
1
us
minute.
tomorrow, okay?
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate your call. Thank you for listening, and thank you for calling. Aaron, we got to take...
I have a... Oh, okay, I was going to say, I have a quick question, but if we have to take a break, I'll ask you when we come back.
Yeah, ask me when we come back. We got to take a quick break for the news and pay some bills. This is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. We'll be back with more stories and more questions and more calls.